Hello, I'm Arthur. Welcome to my lab. For a while now, some of my viewers asked me to compare my AN8006 Aneng multimeter to its younger brother, Aneng AN8004. Or this meter comes out under several different names. There may be another name that you're more familiar with. But anyway, it's just a smaller version of this meter. Has a little fewer features, and I wasn't really rushing to do this video because I didn't really need another meter. I already have enough of meters, and also if I was going to buy a new meter, I would probably go with a higher end one rather than less featured one. But recently I came across a sale on eBay, and I found this meter for $13, so I figured, why not? Some of you guys may be living in countries where 13 bucks is a little bit more than here in US, so maybe this will be helpful to you as far as deciding whether to buy this meter or not. So I bought this smaller Aneng meter, and here it is. Here's what it comes with. It comes with the probes, which are very similar to Aneng's or to the probes that came with my 860B. Let's take a look at these. In fact, I think they are exactly the same. Here are my other Aneng probes. Yeah, they look the same. Little cap here. The other end looks again the same, exactly the same, except I took off the little shrouds off of my other probes. So exactly the same probes. That's not surprising. The meter comes in a little bag. That's nice. Here it is. Here's the meter. And a little booklet, which actually this one may be a little bit nicer, a little bit better than my 860B. That one was just one leaflet folded in quarter. This one is like they made a little bit more of an effort, and I'll scroll through the text in case anyone wants to read this. Here's the other side. All right, so let's take a look at the two meters side by side. And yeah, smaller brother looks really small compared to my 860. Really tiny. To start with, let's use my voltage reference, plug it in, and see what kind of measurements we get from both meters. Let's plug both of them in at the same time. Volt, common, I've stacked my connectors so that we feed the same voltage at the same time to both meters. Oh, I guess I should put the batteries in. That would probably help. So let's take a look at the back of the meter. Let's see what kind of batteries it takes. Okay, it's not a captive screw. It will fall out if you don't catch it. Fortunately, that's a nice thing. It's a metal insert here for the screw, so that's a plus for this one. And it takes 2 AAA batteries. Let me see. I think I have a couple of them handy right here. Alright, 2 AAAs. And as you can see, that foot just flew out. I think it's held by this battery cover. So it's like if you take the battery cover off, the foot will, foot will come off as well. Not a big deal, not a problem. And I guess later we'll pop the cover open and see what's inside. But for now, let's power it on. Alright. So first range, 2.5 volt, which is, it should be 2.49916. So this one should be reading 2.499. This one 2.50. Yeah, that's close enough. Now we should get 4.99790. Close enough. Now 7.486. So this meter is a little bit high by 40 millivolt. That's close enough too. For a $13 meter, that's certainly something I can work with. And this should be 9.99384. So my Aneng is a little bit closer to the correct reading compared to I have to now stop calling this guy Aneng because they both are. So my 860B is a little bit closer than my 8004 meter. Alright, so that's voltage measurements. And let's see what else we can measure with this thing. We can measure resistance. And actually, this is a great segue to showing you guys a new toy that I have. I got myself a little LRC reference. This was about 25 bucks on eBay, and it basically has inside a nice coil, a very stable resistor, and a capacitor inside. And again, it was hooked up to a decent meter. Measurements were taken, and so I can use this as my reference to making measurements. I'm trying to get this thing to focus. There we go. So right off the bat, these two connectors for resistance, they're just flopping around. So I'll have to open up the case and tighten the screws, the nuts on these two. But other than that, it seems like a decent unit. So let's switch to ohm mode. And actually, these two meters are now measuring each other, so I shouldn't do that. Okay, my 860B on resistance is measuring 8.16 kilo ohm, and I should be getting 8.1553. So 8.16 or 8.15 now is a perfect measurement. And 8004, 8.17. That's a little bit off. And let's see how quickly actually they make a measurement. I'll plug in one end, and then I'll plug in my 1 meter, and let's see how long it takes it to make a measurement, and then we'll plug in the other one. Alright, so that was one, and then 860, considerably faster, I would say. And it does not look like we have capacitance measurement range here, so we won't be able to test that. We can test continuity. Let's see. Oh, that's in the diode mode. Switch to continuity. Let's see. Sounds like a decent, hopefully latched input. That sounds good. I like the tone on this meter better, of course. A little bit louder. And let's plug in the original probes and see how these compare. Not too impressive, but will do. At least it's fairly responsive. It's quick to respond. I don't have to touch the probes and wait for the signal. But certainly this is much better. Let's measure some currents. And for this, I'm going to plug in my power supply. I'll use these banana plugs. And let's start with, I haven't actually read the manual, so I'm not sure what the maximum current is for this meter. Let me take a quick look. I don't want to burn this meter on the first day of action. Oh, it only goes up to 200 milliamps. That's disappointing. Yeah, looks like the maximum range is 200 milliamps. Well, that is not too exciting. That is not a lot of range to work with. I'm trying to set my power supply to a current small enough that I can use it on my new meter. Let's go with like something like 150 milliamps. So I'm going to use my Aneng as reference. So that's 150 milliamps. Now let's switch to the milliamp range here and test that again. All right. That was in the amp range, which is less precise. Now I've switched to milliamp range. Alright, 150 milliamps as read by 860B plus. Let's see how this meter compares. 150.2. That's close enough. Actually, I've noticed that there's some wobbling here on the connector. I'm scared to see what we will find inside. Probably not too exciting. Now the microamps range. I don't even know if I can set my power supply to such a small current. I might have to find me a resistor and send some current through it. Well, actually, I'm going to give up on this because I'm not even sure what the maximum current is on the microamp range, and I don't want to fry this this meter. So let's skip that part. So we have microamps, milliamps, diode. Let's test diode. And really, these days, for a multimeter on diode range, I expect that it will be able to measure an LED, not just a diode. But let's start with a diode. And let's use Aneng first. Alright, we're in diode mode. .573 is the measurement, and in the opposite direction, as expected. Now let's try 8004. .512, and in the opposite direction, looks good. Now an LED. No light on the LED and no measurement on the meter. So nope, that's a fail. Cannot measure LEDs, not even a basic green LED. That is very disappointing. So if you work with LEDs, you need a different meter than this one. And at least my Aneng, my 860B plus, this guy can work with an LED. See? And the same on the little guy. No go. No luck. Alright, we've covered volts DC, ohms, diode, continuity, milliamp range. I'm not going to test volts AC. I just don't feel like looking for a source of AC voltage right now. I think that it will be more exciting to take a look at what's inside of this meter. So power off, flip it over, and really I don't expect to see much, but let's just see how badly it's built and how little protection this Cat 3 and Cat 2 600/10,000 or /1000 volt meter, how badly it's built inside. And I'm hoping that I will not have to take the battery out. We'll find out in a moment. I could feel it, the front coming loose, but I think I might have to take the battery out. It looks like it might be on some sort of a connector. I don't know how to pop this thing out. I don't think this is a cover that comes off. This feels like just a regular piece of plastic. Yeah, it's made to look like this soft plastic shoe that you find on other meters, but it's not. It's just a bottom of the case, just a piece of plastic that's different color. That's made to look like a soft plastic shoe. Little by little, and I think I got it. There may be some snaps in there that hold it in place. Either that or I'm breaking something. Okay, so the battery comes out. Okay, I got it out. Tiny little fuse, so you better not try to use this meter on any substantial voltage, because if it explodes, it'll explode real bad. And of course, as expected for 13 bucks, the worst of them all connectors for the probes. Is this a little PTC here? Looks like it, yeah. So at least some kind of protection. I don't know how good it is and whether it will actually protect you from anything or not, but at least they tried. Let me get a little more light here so that I can do the scroll through the PCB. Actually, let me turn on overhead lights. Hopefully this will help. All right. And really not much to look at. Some decent resistors here. Oscillator, chip under a blob, so can't really tell what chip it is, but fortunately the reason why I decided to give this meter a try, or one of the reasons, was that somebody pointed me to a Russian website with some comments and some hacks, so I want to really play with this meter and see if I can enable some of the extra features that were mentioned on that website. So that might be fun. So 2 trim pots here for adjustment. They are marked VR1 and VR2, and it doesn't look like they say what they adjust, so you just have to know or guess. And I don't really expect to see much on the other side of the PCB, so I won't even bother removing these screws. There are 4 screws here and a couple of snap hooks that hold this PCB in place. I'm not going to bother taking that off because all I expect to see is just the display, the connectors for the buttons, and the selector switch. So nothing exciting. So that's what's inside of this meter. Let's pop it back in. Let me just take a quick look at what may have been holding it so tightly in place, and I think it's these sleeves here that these posts go into, and that's what creates friction on this meter. Alright, went back in. Let's see if we still have, yep, still works. That's good. Let's put it back together. And actually, one last thing that I didn't look at was the backlight. So let me just quickly put this back in, and we'll take a look at the backlight. Alright, so power on, and the backlight. Can you see it? I really can't. I'll turn off the overhead light. Anything? Oh, there we go. You need to hold it down. Okay. Well, nice. It's nice and bright once you turn it on. Actually, it looks worse on the camera. It looks like the display dimmed. Oh, okay. Now it just depends on the angle, how sharp the display is. So hold down. Okay. Yeah, that looks very nice. That works. So that's a wrap. That's my new meter, Aneng AN8004, and in the description of the video I'll post the other names under which you can find this meter. Talk to you guys later.
As I was recording my AN8004 multimeter video, I kept thinking that something is not quite right, but I wasn't sure what it was. So I went to look at my auction, and this is the item that I bought, AN8004, and this is the picture that comes with this auction, and it shows again AN8004, and it says 6,000 counts right below the selector switch. And there are actually 2 other meters that you can buy through this auction, AN8001 and AN8002. So again, this is the picture from this auction. Let me zoom in a little bit on the picture just so you can see better. Right here it says AN, or I'm not sure if I have this in the frame. Let me move this around a little bit. So right here it says AN8004, and here I can clearly see it says 6,000 counts. But here's the meter that I reviewed. Again, AN8004, but it says 2,000 counts. So clearly this picture was doctored, was altered, and look at the switch, multi-selector switch. It shows the capacitance or frequency measurement right here, capacitance measurement right here, and this temperature measurement right here, and amp and milliamp range on this meter that's labeled 8004, right? 8004. It shows 4 digits on the display: capacitance, frequency, temperature, 6,000 counts. This is my AN8004. No capacitance, no temperature, no amp range, 2,000 counts. So clearly I've been cheated on this. They actually doctored the picture in the auction, and actually even this, in this picture you can see the manual for 8001, 8002, and the temperature probe, even though the meter is labeled 8004. So I got the wrong meter. That's what was wrong. I was expecting a 6,000 count, and I guess I should have bought this AN8002, which is slightly more expensive. I actually paid for mine $13 and I think 1 cent. Right now this meter is showing at 13 and 10 cents. Okay, so not a big difference. And this one, yeah, about $2.50 more, for a lot more bang for the buck, because you get 6,000 count, you get temperature probe, you get frequency, you get capacitance. So yeah, in a way I guess I could say that this was my fault. I didn't pay attention, I didn't compare carefully. But come on, the picture shows 8004, claims this meter is 6,000 count, shows the temperature, shows all this good stuff. Anyone could fall for that. So liars, beware. When buying from China, this stuff can happen anytime.